Say don't. You'll be proud of me, OG. Woke up, read me a Bible verse, got some breakfast in my system, talked to God about it. You know what I'm saying? And he laid it on me. I got one more album, EP, mixtape, whichever one it's going to be, I got one more. And it's over, I'm going to find my peace.
On February 22, 2026, at just after midnight, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office units were dispatched to the intersection of A. Philip Randolph Boulevard and Jesse Street on the city's east side. They arrived to find an outdoor gathering, dozens of people assembled on the street, now in a state of frenzied dispersal. Bottles and debris covered the pavement. 4 individuals were down. Officers secured the scene. Investigators began processing evidence. At first, the incident appeared to be a spontaneous altercation, a neighborhood gathering that had escalated. Within minutes, a different picture emerged. This was not a random event. This was a memorial. The people on that block had come together to remember a 25-year-old rapper named Janarious Michael Wheeler, known professionally as Lil Poppa, who had died just 4 days earlier. He had died by his own hand in a hotel parking lot in Happaville, Georgia, on February 18, 2026. His manager had been standing a few feet away, speaking to him through a rolled-down car window. No suicide note was found. You're watching Morbid True Crime, psychological true crime documentaries. Like, subscribe, and share for in-depth stories that uncover the mind behind the crime. This case centers on Janarious Michael Wheeler, born March 18, 2000 in Jacksonville, Florida. He was 25 years old at the time of his death. Under the stage name Lil Poppa, he had built a catalog spanning more than a decade of releases, beginning with his debut track at age 15 and concluding with a Valentine's Day single released 4 days before he died. He was signed to Yo Gotti's Collective Music Group, one of the most established independent hip-hop labels in the country. Those who knew him from the beginning described a young man who had been drawn to music from early childhood. Robert Phelps, a member of First Baptist Church of Oakland in Jacksonville, recalled seeing him perform as a child. His exact words, "I remember him as a little kid singing and rapping inside the church. I enjoyed him. I hate that he's gone."
I remember being a nice little kid, growing up singing and rapping inside the church, so yeah, I enjoyed him. I hate he's gone.
His early musical influences were rooted in gospel and church performance. Around age 12, his style shifted, away from religious music and toward what would eventually become his defining artistic identity: frank, detailed accounts of violence, grief, survival, and psychological distress. He released music independently on SoundCloud and Me mixtapes before building a following that would eventually number close to 1 million on Instagram alone. Nothing about the trajectory of his career in its final months suggested a crisis was imminent. He had just dropped new music. He had a performance scheduled. His label had no public indication that anything was wrong. Jacksonville is Florida's largest city by land area, and its east side, the neighborhood where Lil Poppa grew up and where years later his memorial would be held, is a community with documented high rates of gun violence and poverty. According to public records, Jacksonville averages 6 violent crimes per 1,000 residents. It was in this environment that Janarious Wheeler came of age. He began performing at approximately age 6 or 7, first in church settings alongside his older brother and peers. By his early teens, the spiritual content of his earlier performances had given way to street-level narratives drawn from direct experience. In 2018, when Wheeler was 18 years old, he was involved in a drive-by shooting in Jacksonville. According to documented accounts, he and 2 close friends were shot. Wheeler survived, his 2 friends did not. That event is the most consistently cited biographical reference in his catalog and in public statements about his life. It is the axis on which his artistic identity turns. In the same year, he released the single Purple Hearts, a direct account of that incident. The track became his breakout record and established the template for everything that followed: specific, first-person narratives about loss, culled directly from documented personal experience. From that point forward, his music functioned as an ongoing record of psychological states: grief, survivor's guilt, isolation, chronic pain, and deteriorating mental health. These were not constructed personas. They were documented conditions, referenced repeatedly across interviews, social media posts, and a personal documentary. Wheeler had been diagnosed with sickle cell anemia, a genetic blood disorder characterized by chronic, episodic pain crises, organ complications, and shortened life expectancy. He discussed this condition in his 2021 documentary, Blessed, I Guess, which accompanied his debut album of the same name. Sickle cell disease is associated with elevated rates of depression and anxiety among those who live with it. The physical burden of the condition, unpredictable, recurring pain with no complete cure, was a documented feature of his daily life. It had, on multiple occasions, interrupted his music career. The psychological weight of chronic physical illness, layered over the documented trauma of the 2018 shooting, formed the documented foundation of the final years of his life. Wheeler had a relationship with Tori Roberts, the daughter of rapper Rick Ross, that began in 2022. The two had a son together, who was approximately 3 years old at the time of Wheeler's death. The relationship had ended in the months before February 2026. No public statements from his family or immediate circle have addressed the state of his personal life in the weeks preceding his death beyond what was already documented in his own social media posts. In the weeks before February 18, 2026, Lil Poppa posted a series of Instagram stories that, reviewed in sequence, form a documented record of his psychological state. At some point in the weeks preceding his death, the exact date has not been confirmed, he posted a video to his Instagram story in which he said, in his own words, "I got one more album and it's over. I'm going to find my peace."
Say don't. You'll be proud of me, OG. Woke up, read me a Bible verse, got some breakfast in my system, talked to God about it. You know what I'm saying? And he laid it on me. I got one more album, EP, mixtape, whichever one it's gonna be, I got one more. And it's over, I'm going to find my peace.
The phrase, "I'm going to find my peace," was interpreted at the time by some followers as a reference to stepping back from music. In the days following his death, it was recirculated extensively on social media, with a different interpretation now attached to it by the public. His Instagram bio at the time read, "First we're born, next we suffer, then we die. The end." He maintained this bio with 960,000 followers able to see it at any given moment. On Valentine's Day, 2026, Lil Poppa released a new single titled Out of Town Bay, accompanied by a music video posted to his Instagram. The release was routine. It followed the standard pattern of his output. There was no public indication from label communications or management that anything was amiss. On the evening of February 17th, Lil Poppa posted what would be his final Instagram story. The video clip featured audio from Rod Wave's song, Letting It Go. Included in the story was a lyric from the track, "I know what happened, world never will." The post generated some engagement at the time, but no documented intervention by anyone in his professional or personal circle. His final Instagram caption, the last post he made to his main feed, read, "No, I'm not all right." It included lyrics stating, in his own words, "I could say I'm doing just fine, but that's not true." No public record exists of anyone in his circle contacting authorities or requesting a wellness check following these posts. On the morning of February 18, 2026, Janarious Wheeler was driving on Interstate 85 south of Happaville, Georgia, a small municipality in Fulton County located just south of Atlanta. He was involved in a single-car accident on the highway. The vehicle sustained damage, but remained operable. According to Happaville Chief of Police Bruce Headley, who subsequently spoke to TMZ, Wheeler called his manager following the crash and asked for guidance on what to do next. His manager, whose identity has not been publicly confirmed, though Wheeler's Instagram account had been associated with an individual named Lil Jabril Daddy in that role, told him to meet her in the parking lot of a nearby hotel, the Hilton in Happaville, located close to the crash site. Wheeler drove to the hotel. When his manager arrived, he did not exit the vehicle. He remained in the driver's seat and spoke to her through the rolled-down window. Chief Headley confirmed this detail to TMZ. What the two discussed during that conversation has not been publicly disclosed. Chief Headley stated that the content of the exchange was not confirmed. At some point during that conversation, Wheeler produced a handgun, raised it to his head, and pulled the trigger. An off-duty law enforcement officer who was working at the hotel at the time heard the gunshot and called 911. Emergency responders arrived and transported Wheeler to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, one of the region's primary trauma centers. He was pronounced dead at 11:23 a.m. Eastern Time. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office subsequently examined the remains and ruled the cause of death as a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The manner of death was classified as suicide. No suicide note was found at the scene or in Wheeler's belongings. Initial reports of Wheeler's death were released on the evening of February 18th. Early accounts described a death in Georgia, but the cause was not immediately confirmed, prompting widespread speculation among fans online, including theories referencing his documented sickle cell condition and the possibility of an accident. On February 19th, the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the cause and manner of death. TMZ published a detailed account, citing Chief Headley's statements the same day. The hip-hop community's response was immediate and widespread. On February 19th, CMG, Wheeler's label, posted a formal statement on Instagram. The statement read, in part, "We are stunned and devastated by the loss of our beloved family member, Janarious Lil Poppa Wheeler. Poppa was more than just a talented artist. He was an ambitious young man with depth beyond his years and endless potential. Our love for him knew no bounds. He was one of those rare artists who thoughtfully poured his pain, growth, and truth into his art." Fellow CMG artist Tusi posted a tribute. Collaborators and producers from Wheeler's circle shared public statements of grief. Producer Scotty O.H., who had worked closely with Wheeler, stated publicly, "I feel empty, but I love him. I love him to death. I always will." A birthday performance had been scheduled for March 21, 2026, at the Fillmore in New Orleans, a celebration of what would have been his 26th birthday. That event was canceled. On the evening of Saturday, February 21st, community members organized a neighborhood gathering at the intersection of A. Philip Randolph Boulevard and Jesse Street on Jacksonville's east side, the same part of the city where Wheeler had grown up. The event was informal. No venue, no formal organizer identified in public records. Neighbors described it as a standard community gathering, the kind that occurs regularly on the east side. Its purpose was to honor Lil Poppa's memory. According to Action News Jax and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, the gathering continued past midnight, stretching into the early morning hours of February 22nd. Just after midnight, gunfire erupted. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office documented between 12 and 15 shots fired. 4 individuals were struck by gunfire: 2 women, ages 34 and 39, and 2 men, ages 37 and 43. The 34-year-old woman was found on scene and transported to a hospital by ambulance. The remaining 3 victims, all with non-life-threatening injuries, transported themselves to receive medical treatment. By Sunday morning, the area was covered in the remnants of the gathering. Bottles, debris, and party materials scattered across the pavement. Law enforcement presence remained at the scene as investigators documented evidence. As of the time of this documentary's production, no suspect has been publicly identified. No suspect description has been released by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The investigation remains active. Authorities have asked anyone with information, including witnesses, nearby residents, or individuals who recorded footage during the gathering, to contact JSO directly. The shooting prompted public statements from community leaders. Bishop Harry Williams of In the Word International Church on Sparing Street addressed the situation publicly, urging attendees at future community gatherings to intervene when weapons are visible. His documented statement, "Don't be afraid to tell somebody you know if they see something. Don't be afraid to tell him, 'Hey man, I see you got that gun on the side. Put it in the car, man. Let's just talk.'" Robert Phelps, the church community member who remembered Wheeler from childhood, characterized the shooting as inconsistent with the neighborhood's pattern. His documented statement, "I haven't seen anything like this happening or heard anything like this happening here in years. So yeah, definitely out of character. I mean, they always have gatherings every night." In the weeks following Wheeler's death, music journalists and fans began compiling a documented timeline of what his catalog contained. specifically what it contained about his own psychological state. His 2025 album was titled Almost Normal Again. The word almost, present tense, incomplete, was not incidental. In interviews, Wheeler had described the album as a document of progress that had not yet arrived at its destination. A track from his final period, Russian Roulette, contained the lyric, documented by multiple outlets, "Wanna say sorry to my fans, all the shit I go through, you'll never understand." An earlier documented lyric, pulled from his catalog and widely circulated after his death, "And I can't change how I'm living, I ain't got no feelings, I poured drink in my kidney, and it's only for the healing." The phrase "only for the healing" was noted by mental health commentators as a documented reference to self-medication. His final social media caption, "No, I'm not all right," and the accompanying lyric, "I could say I'm doing just fine, but that's not true," were posted publicly, visible to nearly 1 million followers in the days before his death. The content was there, it was documented, it was public. No intervention followed. Janarious Michael Wheeler, Lil Poppa, was pronounced dead at 11:23 a.m. Eastern Time on February 18, 2026, at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. He was 25 years old. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office ruled his cause of death as a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The manner of death was classified as suicide. No criminal charges have been filed in connection with his death. No suspect has been charged in connection with the February 22nd shooting at his memorial gathering. Both investigations, the circumstances surrounding his final hours, and the identity of the shooter at the memorial, remain subjects of public interest. His discography, more than 10 full-length projects and singles, remains available on streaming platforms. His most recent release, Out of Town Bay, was uploaded on February 14, 2026. His final album, Almost Normal Again, was released in August 2025. His birthday, March 18th, is 26 days from the date of his death. What remains is a record of confirmed actions and the documented expressions that preceded them. Janarious Wheeler told his audience, repeatedly and publicly, that he was not well. He said it in lyrics. He said it in social media captions. He said it in a video posted weeks before his death, in which he stated that one more album and it would be over. He said it in a final Instagram story soundtracked by a song with the lyric, "I know what happened. World never will." None of those expressions prompted a documented intervention. Mental health professionals who study at-risk populations have identified a consistent pattern in cases of this kind. Public disclosure of distress is often dismissed as artistic expression, rather than recognized as a signal of need. The line between the two, in retrospect, is frequently clear. In real time, it is rarely treated as urgent. The shooting at his memorial, 4 people wounded at a gathering meant to grieve him, added a second layer of violence to an already documented record of a community absorbing loss. The gunfire that interrupted that memorial has not been explained, and the person or persons responsible have not been identified. What is confirmed? A 25-year-old man died by suicide in a hotel parking lot in Happaville, Georgia, with his manager a few feet away. No note was left. The content of their final conversation has not been disclosed. What is also confirmed? He spent the better part of his professional life telling anyone who would listen exactly how he felt. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24 hours, free, confidential. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crime. If this story made you think, consider liking the video, subscribing, and sharing it, because understanding the crime is how we prevent the next one.